Hi, and welcome to this webinar, Sustainability in Cinemas. My name is Jens Lanestrand, and I work for Biografcentralen. We are a national non-profit art house organization here in Sweden. And we are very happy to launch this new initiative, Cinemas for Climate Today, with this inspiration. And I will tell you a little bit about the background and our goal with it. A month ago, there was an appeal in the biggest Swedish newspaper from about 250 producers and actors and others in the film industry, among those me as well. Mostly that call was for the production side of the industry with the hashtag greening the screen. But cinemas are also part of the film industry, and as every activity on this earth, we are making more or less impact on the environment. So we find that the time is now to take action to develop for making the carbon footprint as low as possible. And this job should be joyful. It should be done together, and not only in Sweden, but also around the globe. So Biografcentralen is launching a new website in about 3 weeks, and it's cinemasforclimate.com, which we want to be like a user-driven Wikipedia for those in the cinema industry who wants to share best practice and discuss methods and changes for the climate. So we also invite the rest of Europe and the world to take part in this. We will start in Swedish, but we hope to make this website integrated and developed into a lot more languages. So if you look at this webinar, either live or later, and work in an organization in another country, please make contact. And for today's inspiration, we have invited Carmen Slijpen from the Bo Cinema in Lewes, UK. And for you who is joining us live, feel free to ask and print down your questions in the chat tool. And there will also be time for questions after the presentation. So, Carmen, I'm so happy that you are with us, and I'm very thrilled to hear more about the sustainability work that you have done in your cinema. So please, welcome and let us be inspired.
Thank you very much, Jens, and thank you especially for inviting me to open this seminar. Everything you say rings true to me. I think I started using recycled paper when I was 16 in secondary school. So recycling and looking after the environment has always been part of my life, and it feels very natural and organic to me. However, it's not the same for everybody, and I feel very strongly and very passionate and very excited about where we are at this moment in time, because so many people are now really getting it. And you've got Greta Thunberg, of course, who's making huge strides all over the world. So we now finally have this really important topic on everybody's agenda. I've got loads of slides. Let me know if I'm going over time. Usually when I start on this subject matter, I can't stop. I hope it's interesting for everybody. And yeah, here I go. So my name is Carmen Slijpen, and I'm the founding director and programmer of a cinema called Depot. It's a 3-screen independent cinema that opened almost 2 years ago now. I kickstarted the project in 2012, and I was able to convince my business partner to take sustainability seriously, and our environmental impact became an important consideration at design stage, and that's where I was particularly lucky. I understand that a lot of cinemas, of course, operate from buildings that have been 50 years old, 100 years old. So there are kind of environmental problems within that, but still there is lots and lots you can do. There's lots of innovation in terms of post-construction, insulations in the roof, in the walls, that kind of thing. But I didn't have to do that. I started off with an existing building that I built onto. So I do understand some of the restraints of, in our case, an 80-year-old building. However, far from perfect, we did manage to incorporate a substantial number of features that now help reduce our carbon footprint. In this presentation, I shall talk about what this meant for our building and how I've taken sustainability into the operational side as well. In the film industry in the UK, and I actually think all over the world, we all operate individually as businesses. There's no shared practice or benchmarking. There's no body or regulation that stipulates any sustainable obligation. I started on this journey from my own sense of duty and responsibility to our community at large. Right. Just to quickly show you where we are. So Lewes is a small place here just south of London, close to Brighton, as you can see here. And this is our town. We're a historic town with a castle set in the South Downs landscape. Hang on, I just need to do that. There you are. We operate as a charity, and we bought this site. So this is an old warehouse with offices at the front, a large car park, and very luckily, our town falls under the planning authority of the South Downs National Park. So they are very interested in greening up hard landscapes that traditionally towns were made up of. So this is what we look like. As you can see, a very hard landscape, a car park. We had a tar roof with some glass windows, some clay tiles on top. And this is what we changed it to. So on top of the roof, we put a living roof. So it's a green roof. We extended the clay tiles. We've got solar panels. We use different materials. So we've got zinc on one part of the roof, flint, which is a local material. We use that as a kind of decorative feature on another part of the roof. We introduced two large lawns and an orchard. So that's what it looks like now. It's a little bit difficult to photograph because I haven't got a drone, sadly. Otherwise I could have taken a nice picture from above. But here you can see we've got a big lawn there, a lawn inside the walled garden, and this is our orchard. This is an early photograph. It's all much greener now, but you can see the green roof there with the solar panels just over there. Again, this is an early view of the cinema. This is just after we opened. This whole patch here is wildflowers, and that's all wildflowers. Our trees are still quite young. So I've taken this photograph because actually there's a lot of stuff in the ground. I was able to put a ground source heat pump in the ground. So that means that 12 boreholes in this area here. They're all 120 meters deep. And I can't really explain to you here how ground source heat pump works, but basically they're pipes with a kind of a fluid, an antifreeze fluid in it that picks up heat from the earth and brings it back to a pump, and the pump sits within the building. There we are. So the ground source heat pump heats the underfloor heating. That's throughout the extension of the building. It's quite a slow heating and cooling process through underfloor heating. So in the cinemas, we couldn't install that. You need to have an air handling unit, because when you have a full cinema and the next show you've got an empty cinema, you need to be able to regulate the temperature much quicker. So we've got an air handling unit for that. That's also controlled by the ground source heat pump. We do have a boiler system. Those are the solar panels I mentioned. and we have LED lights throughout the building. Sorry, I'm working from 2 different presentations at the same time. So great to have ground source heat pump. However, we still use a lot of fossil fuels, which is natural gas and coal, in order to work most of our appliances. So in the server room, which is this image here, we've got amplifiers, we've got laser projectors, which uses less energy. It's a fantastic heat source. We're very happy with it. It's a beautiful picture on the screen. But we also, in screen 1, our biggest screen, we've got a fantastic sound system called Dolby Atmos. However, with that fantastic system, we've got a whole rack of amplifiers here. So, yeah, it is what it is, really. So that's screen 2, that's screen 3, and all of that is screen 1. So this server room gets very hot, so it also has 3 air handling units in this space. This is our office with our computers and telephones. Our bar area, we've got lots of fridges. I'm now much hotter than I was a few years ago on everything eco. So when a fridge breaks, I now get a new eco fridge. We've also changed a lot in our kitchen over the last 2 years in order to reduce fossil fuel use. In our box office, we just have till and a phone. So our heaviest use of fossil fuel sits in our server room and our kitchen. As I said earlier, I was very careful with the materials that we used in order to build our building. On the floor, we've got tiny, tiny pebbles that are all sourced locally. Our front entrance, this porch here, is made of flint, which is, again, it's a local material. We've got shutters around the restaurants made from local chestnuts. We've got our green roof with solar panels, and that's our zinc roof. Now you can see these air vents. In our extension, we don't have any air conditioning at all. We're all doing that naturally by being able to open all our windows, floor to ceiling windows, and our air vents. So we're playing with that all the time, actually, as well as with the shutters. This is actually very heavy duty on managing. So often I find that when the sun comes out, all the shutters get closed. And then managers, when the sun moves around, the shutters generally stay closed for the whole day. So in terms of managing people, it's quite a lot of work. Sensors are really important. Anything automation, I never thought I would say that, but the more things that are automatic, it takes away stress from managing a building. And you can be much hotter on it. So if there's no movement in a room, all the lights go off. If the light outside changes, the path lights come on automatically. And equally, if the sun comes up or it gets light in the morning, all the lights go off again. We have a urinal, as you can see here. It only flushes after 3 or 4 wees, I think. So there's not a constant run of water. We have sensors in our taps. So again, as soon as you take your hand away, the water stops. And this is another picture of our outside lighting. I put a lot of effort into trying to get people to find an alternative mode of transport to come to the cinema. So on our website, we have all our bus times that people can take. We've got a link to we're very lucky, we're next to the train station. So we've got a link to the timetables from the train. We're heavily promoting people traveling by bike. So that's why I've created this really nice bike stand that's covered and it's got CCTV as well. We've got a map on our website and you can see that very clearly that all our bicycle parking spaces are clearly noted, as well as the bus and car, of course. Behind our box office, we have live train times. People love that. So they look at it all the time and then don't feel worried about not being able to get home. And on the website, we made it very clear that if possible, leave the car behind. Another area to look at when you're, basically, I keep looking at lots of different areas within the cinema all the time, and I keep rethinking. I'm a member of kind of a consumer magazine called Ethical Consumer. So there's a kind of a more conventional magazine in the UK as well called Which magazine. So it's which product to choose. Now there's Ethical Consumer, and like the Which magazine, I think it comes out every 2 months, and they tackle certain products. So when I get the magazine, I then use that to look at what we do within the cinema and try to make changes accordingly. So this can be anything to do with coffee, tea, chocolate, palm oil, all those kind of issues. And because of that, actually, we changed our tea supplier, which has been a great move. So products, we source them locally. We also look very carefully at all the labeling on products. You can't, you know, there are green trees on every product at the moment. Anything says green and eco, you really have to investigate what that means. We source locally. Try to say no to plastic as much as possible. Of course, we all know what a fantastic product plastic is. My latest thing is to get rid of plastic pens and go back to pencils. They're very good to write with, actually. We've got, in England, they're called vegware cups. So I'm sure you all know that paper cups have got plastic in. So you've got to research paper cups that don't have plastic. Very silly. I didn't realize that most of the takeaway cups are used within the cinema, because when people take coffee and tea into the cinema, for safety's sake, that needs to have a lid. So we did a lot of research into what these cups were. So the lids are made of cornstarch. They can actually be recycled with our food waste, and our cups can be recycled with our paper and cardboard waste. So we really look at the journey of all our products, and we also investigate who our suppliers are. We put pressure on our suppliers to change the way they do things. We've got a local butcher who used to deliver all her meat in plastic containers, but since talking to us, she changed her way completely, and she's now even delivering milk in glass bottles, which has come from us, and it's just a great way. And for her, it becomes a USP, and more other people are joining this journey. Really, it's hugely satisfying when you can make such changes. We also last year we did a green week, so every day we chose a specific feature to focus on. And so this image here was something to be very clear to staff where our products came from. So this is Lewis, this is our county, and these are all the different products that we got from Sussex, that we buy from Sussex. We were also promoting bamboo cups. This is before I was a little bit wiser. Bamboo still takes a really long time to break down, so you throw this in the ocean and it still stays there for 400 years. So really it's all about thinking through the whole journey of where you've put something that you don't use anymore. And I'm sure it's the same with you people. Customers leave a lot of stuff behind, and at the moment we just end up with loads and loads of plastic bottles and these drinking cups. So I've now stopped buying them in, and I want people to source their own cups and take responsibility for them. And that's, I think, what it is, where we have to go. We all have to start taking responsibility for everything we do from beginning to end and think it through. So here we are with our waste management. So these are all our different bins for food and different glass and paper and all that kind of stuff. We get our coffee in these buckets that go back to the supplier, and he refills it. We work with concentrated products, so rather than buying all these individual plastic bottles, we get one concentrated product that we then dilute ourselves. So waste management is difficult and a huge problem. This area is actually too small, so after 2 years I'm now in a position where I have to rethink it. It's all also to do with how easy and difficult it is for people to partake. So I've got to try and make this easier for our staff. And also for the bin man who pick it up. So very often we end up with lots of rubbish in the street. So this is a big area that I'm focusing on at the moment. So this is again an area where we did lots of work. I'm not sure, you probably don't all have restaurants, you maybe have kiosks, but we have a restaurant as well, and all these products used to be packaged. Of course, spinach is still packaged in plastic, but I find this hugely satisfying that all these products come in just like that in a cardboard box. In the office, again, awareness raising among staff. It's easiest if all these things become just a way of living that people don't have to think with everything they do. So it's just more automatic. So it's also about trying to make things fun. I strongly recommend this no staple stapler. It's fantastic. So as it says, it doesn't use staples, and in a really funky way folds the paper. People like using it, showing off about it. It's just a bit of fun. Of course, we've got lots of, we use rechargeable batteries for everything we can. It's in kitchen scales, in our our computer mice, our usher torches. Unfortunately, they seem to get lost all the time. So we're buying many more than I wish, but hopefully eventually we find some sort of equilibrium where we've got 20 that we can keep reusing. Marketing is a huge problem. I'm in constant fight with my marketeer. He loves paper, and actually our customers also love papers and flyers, so we have lots of that. Then there's a huge complicated discussion about FCS versus recycled paper. I find a lot with all these different issues that the most important thing is to really read up and understand what these issues are, and then make a decision that works for you at this moment in time. It can never be a decision forevermore. It can be a decision for the next few years, and then you need to reassess again. There may be something else on the market, or maybe your business operation has changed, which will then mean that you can take another decision. So of course, we're all about circular economy. I'm very pleased with this report. So this is energy performance rating, and we came out very, very high. I've not seen, apart from a properly green building, sustainable or carbon neutral building that was built from scratch. It's very difficult to get such a high rating. So I'm very proud of this. Although this, at the same time, it doesn't mean that I'm stopping here. I would like to get into that A+ region, really. So customers, of course, the big thing is that we need to get everybody on board. So we have staff screenings every month. So every month we update our staff on the latest in terms of our environmental credentials and what we're working on. And with the public, we have constant conversations. It doesn't always look great. So here, this is our usher. And so when people come out of the cinema, we wait for them with 3 different bins and 3 different recycling options. But, you know, people understand the problem and are very happy to partake. We have e-ticketing, and actually it's just an email that people are sent at home, and we encourage them to get it up on their phone. We're a small independent cinema. We trust our public. I was at a conference recently where especially the bigger exhibitors were really concerned about security and how emails can be shared, but actually we don't find that's a problem with us. Also, it would be hugely embarrassing if a customer's got a ticket and then somebody else has got the same ticket. So it's also a very good way to have a conversation about this issue again with customers. We often have to talk them through about how to get it, and again, people seem to respond really well to it. Then, of course, we all have a fantastic opportunity with our screen. We all own screens, so through our screen we can send messages, and I do a lot of, I show a lot of issue films. I work with a lot of local community groups. We are a very active town. So 2 years ago, I worked together with a group called Transition Town Lewis. I don't know if you're familiar with transition towns, but there are quite a few in England and possibly also further afield. And I wanted to screen a film called Plastic Ocean. So we're now all very familiar with this issue, but funnily enough, so 2 years ago, that was still fairly new. This was pre the David Attenborough documentary, and I invited Transition Town Lewis to partake. And from that, they then set up an organization which is now called Plastic Free Lewis. So they're working heavily on reducing plastic use in our whole town. And in a couple of weeks' time, I'm screening a documentary with Jeremy Irons about waste. So I'm also very conscious that I just do, although I can't take on all these campaigns myself, I want to support them in the longer run, so ongoing. Similarly with, I'll just show you this one. And there's some local campaigners who fight against the fast fashion industry. And we ran a fashion show at Depot where our staff, they were the models, and all the clothes that we were wearing were from secondhand shops. That was last year. And then this year, just a couple of weeks ago, we had flash mobs. We screened this film, The True Cost, with a discussion afterwards. And then we ran a Revolution clothes swap, which was hugely popular. We had about 100 people who were swapping clothes, and fantastic energy within the cinema. Then going back, of course, cycling. I'm very hot on cycling, as I said earlier. This is last year. I worked with a local cycle shop who were very keen to promote their electric bicycles. So they were displaying them at the cinema, and I screened 5 cycling films, one of them being middle-aged, what was it called? Middle-aged men in Lycra. Something like that. Anyway, it's a fun film. So going back to this, just quickly, all our uniforms, which is for kitchen, and aprons for our waiters in our restaurant, they're all made of recycled bottles. So do as you preach. So where are we now? We've made a significant investment, and we're now streamlining and improving operational processes and products. So we were doing all these things, and I've been doing presentations, but I realized that actually we didn't have anything on our website. And I also needed a bit more support in-house to help me drive this forward. So I appointed a green ambassador. This is Natasha. Hang on, I'm sorry, let me just get my, so she's helping me to drive the green agenda across all businesses, to formalize our sustainable remit, to research and embed best practice and products, to help and maintain green communications and do things like this, like online conferencing rather than traveling all over the country, to celebrate our achievements and to share our stories, to be part of networks and striving, especially networks that are striving for the same goals, and also really important to inspire others to reduce their environmental impact. We can join networks on many different levels. The government, the Department of Energy and Climate Change, have got lots of stuff online, so we're looking at that and see how that we can learn from it and engage. On a local level, there's an environmental strategy for East Sussex. East Sussex is our county, so we're engaging with them about how we can take part, and also they can use us as their example for how things may work for businesses and how businesses can change. We've got a industry body called UK Cinema Association, so we're talking to them. I've done presentations through them, and of course on a European level we've got sustainable development goals. And there's also a whole area which is your social responsibilities, and that's where this comes in, and we're studying these as well. So we've recently put a huge amount of effort in getting all our information on our website. It's not quite finished yet, so we did some brainstorming with various members of staff, and we have kind of launched our first page where we explain to people what we're up to, and we've divided it into kind of 3 areas: our building, transport, and our greener choices. So this is still work in process. Please have a look at it when you have time. We're joining campaigns all the time. I've just done something what I thought was quite radical, but people have picked it up actually without any problems. We've never sold any drinks in plastic. A couple of months ago, I decided to take to stop selling water in containers. The only water that we sell is carbonated water, but we now encourage people to drink tap water. All our tap water is drinking water, and just to move away from the idea that drinking water needs to be bottled, be that plastic or glass. And actually, I thought we'd have some backlash from the public, but not at all. We've now got a table with loads of glasses and bottles of water, sort of tap water, and people happily help themselves, and it's not been an issue at all. As a business, we made the business pledge to reduce our plastic as much as we can and continue to look at it. And then, as I mentioned earlier, we made a huge change to working with a lovely tea company who've got a very good relationship with their farm in India. Staff training, you've seen this picture already. This is all quite evident. Of course, the being green and environmentally friendly is kind of the opposite to things convenient and fast. It's actually, it relates more to being more meditative, living in the moment, and caring. So not having throwaway cups means that you've got to do a lot of glass polishing, and it is a lot more work. However, I feel that through that we're spreading the love, and we're starting to care for each other as well. So I personally have no problem with it. However, in terms of business, it requires a really strong commitment. So here, be part of a bigger network. I kind of went through this already. There's something in the UK called the Carbon Literacy Project, which is fantastic. You can look it up. It's got lots of ideas on how to talk to your staff and really pass on what it means and what the effects, what the problem is as such. We're working with the University of Brighton, which is the closest city next door. Julie's Bicycle may also be interesting for you. They have a lot of information on their website. Yeah. And this is my last slide, just to show you, not really for reading, but all the different things you can do. So it's already, so no straws, eco napkins, you know, we changed from pretty white napkins to brown recycled napkins. My restaurant manager was very nervous about it, and actually we've not had any backlash from it. I like this list very much. They're all positive things that I can do. I like to be able to do things. So on our roof, I didn't mention that actually, on our green roof, it's made up of 12 different plant species, and they're all plant species from our surrounding environment, from the South Downs. I'm looking to have bees on the roof. In our walls, we've got hotels for bats and for swifts. They're kind of birds that they were looking to become extinct. I don't know whether they've taken house or taken residence yet, but you know, there are just so many things you can do, which is great. I think this is my last slide. That's some information about how to get in touch with me. That's me, really.
Thanks, Carmen. Very inspiring. And I invite you all who is now live, if you want to ask a question, feel free to do so. You have your microphone on the bottom on the left where you can unmute yourself. And before maybe the first question, I wonder, what do you think if you are an exhibitor, you are uploaded with work, you have no money, but you are eager to do a better work for the climate? Where should you start if you don't have, if you're not able to do everything? Where should you start, you think? In the kiosk or the projection room, or? So
I think there are a few things you can do. You can use your screen to spread the message. So I just gave a few examples already. I have to say, there are not a huge amount of documentaries out there, and when I was talking to Transition, so that the Plastic Free Lewis people about the next event, we were really struggling finding a documentary that had a slightly positive slant. A lot of people find it quite difficult to come to events where they know they're going to walk out all depressed and, oh my God, the end of the world is nigh. It looks like such documentary doesn't quite exist. Please let me know if you do find something. But so after doing a plastic ocean where everybody felt, it really sort of kickstarted people into thinking we must do something. And now this waste, trashed film, which is about waste, which will be very similar. We do try to, in the discussion, to really talk to people about what they can do to make a change here and now. So yeah, so start on putting those kind of messages on your screen. Of course, you can do waste separation. That doesn't cost anything. You can start to change your lighting to LED lights. As I say, I'm changing plastic pens to pencils. I think pencils are very cheap. So there are lots of little things to really start the conversation. The e-ticketing, the way we do it, is kind of handmade as such. It works for us. Doesn't cost.
Well, thanks. Anyone has a question?
Yes, I've got a question. Can you hear me?
Yeah,
I can hear you. I can't see you, but I can hear you.
No. I'm Agneta from Stockholm, from Folkets Bio. I just wondered a bit, hi, thanks for the presentation. It was really inspiring, so I really enjoyed it.
It's very odd to talk like that, actually. It's the first time. I hope it came across okay.
Yeah, definitely. So, but I just wonder a bit about the financing. How did you finance all this? Because this is so much work you've done with it.
Yeah, I was very lucky. I found a benefactor.
Okay.
So just to be frank about it, and that's fine, the whole project cost £8 million. And when I found there was money, I just pushed for as much as I could get. So that's when I then did research into what would be the best way to put energy in the building. And I found out about the ground source heat pump and then really pushed for that.
Mm.
Ground source heat pump, so I think everybody should consider that, and everybody who's building a new cinema from scratch. Officially, the return is within 25 years. Everything that's in the ground has got a 100-year guarantee, so it's really sort of a long life investment. The pump itself above ground, which will sit in your plant room, that's got 25-30 years guarantee, but that is the cheaper part of the whole installation.
Okay, yeah. And could you also find that the investment and your profile, that it increased the audience for the cinema? I know you had a profile from the start, but can you see with your work that it increased further with the audience?
Sorry, is your question whether all this sustainability stuff that I'm doing, whether that has an impact on our audience?
Yeah, if you can see that it's been like a PR for the cinema, that it has increased the audience to the cinema.
Yeah, because I think this is the right thing to do. I didn't spend a huge amount of effort into conveying this message, but I've now realized that actually it is a very good PR tool. With all the green things that I put on screen, I always work with local organizations, and they have their own hinterland, so all those screenings are always sold out. My biggest screen is 140 seats. And so these one-off screenings always go with a marketing campaign, and they all sell out. And I get a huge amount of feedback, positive feedback from it.
That's great. Yeah, thanks.
So in terms of programming, just to follow up, we're the only cinema in town. So I've got my blockbuster mainstream program, which is at the moment Avengers, of course. But alongside that, I screen fantastic small films like Woman at War, which I don't know, you know the Icelandic film? I don't know what it's called in Sweden, but Woman at War. Yeah. And I screen lots of documentaries. So the three work really well together. And almost every day I get compliments about the programming.
Great.
Yeah, thanks, Agneta, for the question. Anyone else has a question? Feel free. We've got some questions here in the chat, but also answers. Maybe one exhibitor asked, "Where can you find eco fridges?" And then a response was, "Coca-Cola might have them." What's your advice?
I think, well, I just Google it, so you have to find out what's available in your own country. So in Sweden or in Finland, there is a company they're called Eco Fridges. It's an investment, it's an expensive fridge, but I look at their rating and I do research about it, and then so that's now where I want to put my money. So it's a big commitment doing that.
Then we also have a comment. For 28 years, we have fed the local ducks with leftover popcorn, and they love it.
Ah, wow.
Yeah.
Wow, is salty and sweet popcorn good for ducks?
I don't know. What do you say, Roger? See if he's still there. Okay, no answer on that one. But I hope so. He answers yes. Thank you. If we don't have any more questions, thank you so much, Carmen, for your inspirational presentation here. And I hope we can stay in touch. And yes, you will have. And also it gave me a lot of ideas, not at least what we can do here in Sweden, and hopefully work together in the future as well.
There's one thing I've forgotten to say, which is actually maintenance is really, really important. Look after all your equipment, be that mechanical or digital. So really, ideally, you've got service contracts for all your equipment. So you're reminded to every year to have things either upgraded or cleaned. Filters that are not cleaned use immediately your machinery uses a lot more energy. So the energy use goes up, and then also your expenses. So it will cost to have everything, have all your appliances serviced, but actually in the long run, you save on fossil fuels and you save money as well. It's an important one that I almost forgot about.
Mm-hmm. Thank you.
Well, for this opportunity.
Yeah, and we'll keep in touch. And thanks everyone who is joining us now. And we has recorded this, and we will put it on, I guess, YouTube or some digital channel. And for you in Sweden, I hope you will join us in 3 weeks on May 29th for another lunch meeting like this, and we can share best practice and so on. So thanks for today, and have a good day.